3rd, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network, the first coffee break of 2018. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news. But before we get to some of the latest headlines and later on a Nutmeg Sports Update with Frank Granito and a look back on this day in history with Donald Ang, you've probably seen reports of the first big winter storm of the season headed our way. And to give us the latest and always some of the most accurate projections on what's ahead, on the phone we have Jacob Mizell of swctweather.com. Jacob, thanks so much for finding time for us today. I'm sure you're busy tracking this storm.
Oh yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
All right, so Jacob, first, let's talk timing and accumulation. What's the latest for our area of Connecticut?
So the latest with the storm, we've seen pretty dramatic changes with this forecast over the past 12 to 18 hours. We're now expecting light to moderate scattered snow showers breaking out as early as 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. Previously, it looked like the storm might hold off until 5 or 6, but we're really expecting accumulating snow, kind of scattered snow showers by 2 or 3 a.m., steadier snow then moves in by 6 or 7 a.m., and we really start to see conditions go downhill by around that morning commute.
So you're seeing, from what it sounds like, you're seeing this affecting schools and, of course, the morning commute, yes?
Yes, absolutely. We're expecting more significant impacts at this point than we were yesterday because both accumulation forecasts have risen and the timing of the storm, it's sped up a bit on the front end. So between those two things, it looks like we're really going to see some disruptive impacts tomorrow morning.
Now, are we seeing big accumulation differences in different parts of the state? How's that looking right now?
Yes, absolutely. That's part of our forecast, and that's part of why this is still what we call a low confidence snow forecast, and that there are a lot of things that could really change over the next 12 hours. Our current forecast is for 5 to 10 inches of snow across New Haven County, 4 to 8 inches across Fairfield County, and we also forecast for Westchester County, we're looking at only 3 to 6. And what that opens up the potential for is as little as 3 inches of snow in Westchester County and as much as 10 inches of snow, or maybe even a little bit more in parts of New Haven County, because you're going to see some very intense banding as this storm rapidly intensifies. That could make snowfall rates of 1+ inch per hour possible across areas of New Haven County later tomorrow morning and really boost those snowfall totals compared to other parts of the state, probably further west, where we won't see as much intense banding.
Now, Jacob, we're hearing a lot about the wind in this storm. I think I'm seeing the term bomb cyclone thrown around. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so this storm is going to very rapidly intensify offshore. And the good news here is it looks to be far enough offshore that we're not going to see very severe winds. This isn't the type of thing where you'd be talking about widespread power outages or very severe issues with the wind. Yet we are worried at the coast that we could see wind gusts up to around 40, 45 miles per hour combined with snow. You could start to see isolated and to maybe scattered power outages. Not anything too widespread, but the real concern here is that behind this storm, you're going to get some really wicked cold. You're going to be seeing low temperatures, Friday night especially, getting down inland below zero with wind chills in the negative teens possible. So anyone across the region, especially in coastal areas, should prepare or at least set up for that scenario in which there are a few isolated scattered power outages with these winds, because the severe cold behind is you're going to need to prepare in advance for that.
Now, you mentioned the freezing temperatures. I mean, it just seems to be unrelenting recently, this cold weather we're getting. I mean, when do we have any relief headed our way? And is this a new record just about the amount of time that it's been this cold?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've been setting records in terms of both duration and intensity of this cold. The good news is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to see one more strong cold blast behind the storm over the weekend, some moderation next week, but the longer-term forecasts I'm looking at, out past 10 days especially, show a very significant amount of moderation for the region, and there's a good risk that the second half of the month we actually end up above average. The cold looks to refocus as we move through the month back further towards the Midwest. We'll begin to see more warmth across the east. Still we'll have some cold shots, still we'll have some threats of winter weather, but this kind of very sustained cold that we've seen this past week and a half definitely does look to ease as we move forward through January.
And Jacob, as far as tomorrow's storm and what's going to happen, what time do you think you'll have a firmer idea of exactly the amount of snow and when it's going to be hitting?
This is one of those events where, as the storm develops, you're going to be seeing where some of the most intense banding sets up. So it's going to be an around-the-clock live observational type event. That being said, this afternoon we're having a number of our key short-term weather models come out that should confirm some of the overnight trends that trended snowier. So we're optimistic that we'll be able to kind of nail down late this afternoon, early this evening, exactly what regions are most at threat for the heaviest banding and the highest accumulation. There's still a massive spread in some of our model guidance, with some models printing out anywhere from, I'd pick New Haven County specifically, from 4 inches to over 12 inches of snow being possible. So it is something that we'll have to whittle away at, but right now our forecast is kind of right in the middle of the consensus and takes into account that potential for a bit more intense banding. Any small shift in the storm track over the next 12 hours, though, and you're going to see that kind of tight snowfall gradient shift across the region.
All right, Jacob, last question. Because of the low temperatures that are moving in after this storm, do you see it affecting schools potentially on Friday as well if we do get some of this accumulation?
That's something that we're also following. There is a chance of school impacts on Friday. Now, exactly what those impacts will be will depend on how significant accumulations are as well. If we end up seeing accumulations in that higher end 8, 10, 12-inch range, then you could definitely see carryover delays or even closures into the day on Friday. Already we were watching the potential for some schools to have to delay on Friday just due to the severity of the cold and the blustery winds. You're going to have wind chills below zero early Friday morning, and oftentimes schools will delay to make sure that students aren't waiting out in the dark and the cold and have an extra few hours for it to warm up a bit. So delays are certainly on the table for Friday, and in some of the worst accumulation scenarios with this storm, we could even see carryover cancellations as well.
All right, Jacob Mizell, we'll be following the latest from you on Twitter, SWCT Weather, and your website. You always do such a great job. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks so much for having me again.
All right, thank you, Jacob. Well, we are going to step out for a break, and when we come back, we have some of the latest local news, including a look back on this day in history with Donald Ang and your Nutmeg Sports Update after this. We know it's your busy season, and that's why Walter Stewart's Market is here to make things easy by offering the best of autumn under one roof. Walter Stewart's Market is your local one-stop fall shop. There are so many seasonal flavors to savor, and Stewart's has them all, from Blue Jay Orchard's local cider donuts to Vermont Farmstead cheddar and all of your favorite varieties of local apples and pears. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and find us at stewartsmarket.com.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 3 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue, Norwalk, 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien, or in the Westport Medical Center at 323 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Go to coastalorthoct.com. Like them on Facebook.
Welcome back to this January 3rd edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and it's time to take a look back on this day in history, our first of 2018, with Donald Ang. Don.
The last time I did one of these, it was historical. It was. Well, first we're going to go to 1749. Benning Wentworth of New Hampshire, the governor of New Hampshire, issues the first New Hampshire grant. Now, there will be 134 more over the next 15 years. These grants, 6 miles by 6 miles, established towns west of the Connecticut River on land claimed by New Hampshire and New York. Now, this disputed land would then become the Vermont Republic, which, believe it or not, actually existed as late as 1791. Now to 1870, construction begins on the Brooklyn Bridge, and it would continue for the next 14 years. The combination of cable and suspension bridge connects the boroughs of Manhattan and Brooklyn. And to finance the project, the city of New York rented space in the vaults below water level to wine connoisseurs. Yes, the temperature in the vaults that were underground, the footings for the bridge, remained a steady 60 degrees year-round. To 1938 now, President Franklin Roosevelt founds the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis. Initially funded by wealthy donors, Roosevelt would appeal to the general public for additional funding that year, and celebrity singer Eddie Cantor jokingly urged the country's children to send the president their dimes. And they did, 2.7 million of them in that first year. Later renamed the March of Dimes, the campaign paid off with the development of the polio vaccine in 1955. Finally, now we go all the way back to 1977, the dawn of the computer age. Look at this.
From high technology, the computer store, introducing Apple II, the easy-to-operate home computer. Just hook it up to your TV to create dazzling color displays. Or you can balance your checkbook. Kids can teach themselves arithmetic. Or the family can invent their own Pong games. The possibilities are endless. It's called Apple II, the personal computer. See it at High Technology, the computer store.
That was on this date, 1977, Apple Computer is incorporated. That commercial actually was from 1977 because the Apple II was introduced this year also. Founders Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak had built their first computer the year before. The name was chosen for two reasons. One, Jobs had fond memories of working on an apple farm as over the summer as a teen. And two, at the time, Atari was the computer company to beat. Apple, therefore, comes before Atari in the phone book. That is your look back in history for today, January 3rd, and I'm Donald Ng.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, in today's local news, a Fairfield woman crossing the street in Stamford was killed Tuesday after being hit by a car. Now, the Stamford Police Department's Collision Analysis and Reconstruction Squad say this happened on Elm Street at North State Street at 7:09 a.m. Tuesday morning. Now, in the crash, a 2016 Dodge Ram van was traveling southbound on Elm Street, turning onto North State Street. A pedestrian who was a 59-year-old Fairfield resident was on North State Street intending to cross when that collision occurred. Now, the van driver is a 38-year-old Stamford resident. He stopped at the scene and stayed to cooperate with police. Now, the pedestrian was transported to Stamford Hospital. She died as a result of her injuries sustained in that crash a short time after the arrival at the hospital. That woman's identity is so far being withheld to allow family members to be notified. Now, any witnesses or persons with information in that collision are asked to contact police at 203-977-4712. And Monroe volunteer firefighters got a busy start to the new year, responding to 4 calls on Monday, including a chimney fire on Lorraine Drive and a house fire on Elm Street, all under those freezing conditions. Now, it began Monday morning when Monroe, Stepney, and Stevenson firefighters handled a chimney blaze on Lorraine Drive. The first arriving police officer saw flames coming from that chimney, and crews extinguished the fire with a booster line and checked for extension, finding none, and ventilated that structure. Now, 3 engines, 2 ladder trucks, and tanker responded. Well, later that same day, about 1:20 p.m., the Monroe, Stepney, and Stevenson departments were called to an Elm Street home near Fan Hill Road for a house fire. Units there found visible smoke and flames in the rear and quickly extinguished with a hand line. Now, there, some limited fire extinction inside of 2 rooms of that house happened. Crews had to wait for Eversource to cut the power to that Elm Street house before overhauling that fire. Now, officials say that blaze was located in the rear of the house and appeared to be caused by an electrical issue. Crews were on the scene for about 90 minutes performing overhaul. Thankfully, there were no injuries to residents or firefighters. And in other news, Trumbull police are investigating an apparent assault at the Westfield Trumbull Mall on New Year's Eve. Now, according to reports, at about 3 p.m., police were called to the Macy's store on a report of a fight. Police said a 21-year-old male was walking into the mall and 2 other males followed him into Macy's. They approached the victim and assaulted him with their hands. Now, a fight then took place and a display case in the store was knocked over. That victim did have minor injuries but was able to run away. The suspects responsible for the assault have not been identified. The police investigation is continuing. Now, there were no weapons reported to have been displayed or ever used by that suspects in that incident. You can get more at TrumbullTimes.com. And the Ridgefield Police Department is investigating a car theft that happened outside of Walgreens on Danbury Road around 8:45 p.m. on Saturday, December 30th. According to Captain Jeff Kreitz, the car that was stolen was a 2016 BMW X5. Now, it was later found abandoned in Waterbury. Well, the complainant advised officers that he had parked the vehicle and left it running while he went into that local business. A short time later, Kreitz said that the complainant observed a male in his 20s drive off with the car. Now, it is the 16th car that's been reported stolen in 2017. Captain Kreitz said that a Ridgefield officer responded and saw that the vehicle, which was left in the parking lot traveling north on Danbury Road in the vicinity of Tanton Hill Road. That officer did attempt to make a traffic stop, but the car never stopped and began passing vehicles at a high rate of speed, at which time the officer discontinued that pursuit. Now, Ridgefield police believe the suspect drove down to Ridgefield in a 2013 Ford Edge and then left that car behind at the Gulf Station on Danbury Road. And with temperatures dipping into the teens and single digits this past weekend, Ridgefield resident and sailor David Gelfman saw an opportunity that he couldn't pass up. Well, the North Salem Road resident set sail on Lake Narragansett in his DN ice yacht, El Diablo, for the first time on New Year's Eve. Now, he returned for more frozen lake fun on New Year's Day and on Tuesday, January 2nd. Now, he acquired that ice boat a few years ago. That ice yacht has 3 steel blades and a tricycle-style arrangement and a 16-foot mast. It can reach up to 55 miles per hour fairly easily. Well, there's a lot more on that story at theridgefieldpress.com. All right, but let's throw it over now to Frank Granito for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank.
All right, thank you, Kate. And no action in the FCAC last night, but everyone getting back into the flow of it today. We'll have a full schedule of basketball games tonight that Kevin and I will go over at 2 o'clock on Nutmeg Sports. But the big one for us, it's a rematch of last year's FCAC championship in boys hockey. The FCAC and state champion Ridgefield Tigers will meet up with their rivals, the New Canaan Rams from the Darien Ice House at 8 p.m. That was a game that was settled 5-2 at Terry Connors last March. Of course, those two teams would also go on playing in the state semifinals before Ridgefield would move on and win their first ever Division I state title. We'll have a full preview later on today at Nutmeg Sports, but for now, we'll send it back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. We're going to step out for a break, come back with more local news and one more look at the forecast after this.
Voted Best Gourmet to Go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with some of the latest local news. Now in Darien, management of the Lamphere Day Spa reported that $200 has been stolen from a cash register. This was back on December 22nd. Now, according to police, an unknown individual went behind the counter in the boutique room during a busy period at the spa and took the cash while that register was unattended. Now, the incident was reported on December 26th and remains under investigation. Well, now that Connecticut residents have turned on the heat in their homes, it's especially important to remember about the dangers of carbon monoxide, according to the Connecticut Department of Health. Now, everyone who uses oil, natural gas, liquid propane, or wooden pellet stoves should make sure that their heating system has been cleaned and inspected within the last year. Now, if the burning of fuel is incomplete, carbon monoxide gas can form and build up in your home. Now, the deadly gas has no odor or warning properties. A carbon monoxide alarm is the only way to know if it's building up in your house. Now, if you have a carbon monoxide alarm, it's important to test it and make sure that it does work. And if you don't have one, now is the time to purchase one. According to officials, make sure to place that carbon monoxide alarm in your living space, preferably close to bedrooms or where you spend the most time. Now, sometimes it is hard to tell if you have early symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning because those symptoms can resemble the flu, with headache, feeling lightheaded, and sleepiness. They're common in both illnesses. Now, if there are other people in your house and a number of them develop those symptoms around the same time, carbon monoxide gas may be seeping into your living space. Now, for more information about the dangers of carbon monoxide, you can contact your local health department or the Connecticut Department of Public Health at 860-509-7740. And in other news, the Kennedy Center in Trumbull has named a new CEO. Richard Sebastian Jr. has been appointed to the new president and chief executive officer of the Kennedy Center. He succeeds Martin Schwartz of Trumbull, who is retiring after nearly 40 years of service. Now, Schwartz will remain as acting president and CEO until January 18th to ensure a smooth transition. Now, Sebastian comes to the Kennedy Center with over 30 years of experience in the developmental disabilities sector. Most recently, Sebastian served as the president and CEO of DidLake, which is a multi-state organization based in Virginia that serves more than 2,000 people with disabilities. Prior to that, he served as president and CEO of Human Technologies Corporation, an organization based in New York serving about 2,500 people with disabilities and behavioral health needs. Now, there's a lot more on that story at TrumbleTimes.com. And wildlife rehabilitators based in Killingworth, Connecticut had a unique emergency call on New Year's Eve. A place called Hope, which specializes in the care of birds of prey, shared on Facebook that they received an emergency call December 31st from Eversource as one of their employees had a collision with a barred owl. As you can see in that photo, that owl got stuck in the truck grill. Now, this truck sat 40+ minutes while first responder Vicky Sylvia raced to the scene. 2 minutes prior to her arrival, however, that owl squeezed back through the grill of the truck and flew off. Great news that he was not injured in any way, and they're hoping he's okay otherwise, but glad that story had a happy ending. All right, let's take one final look at the forecast with Frank Granito. Frank.
I'll do my best to keep up with Jacob, Kate, but obviously we have got that snowstorm coming on the way for tomorrow. Anywhere between 3 to 6 inches are expected, but really the big issue will be the wind that comes along with the storm and the cold temperatures that are going to follow through the weekend. If school is on Friday or you have any activities you need to do, be very careful. We're going to see icy conditions Friday into Saturday, as well as temperatures really not getting up above the low teens. With the wind chill, it could be as low as -10 to 15. So make sure you are staying warm this weekend and stay tuned to the HAN Network and all of your other local weather sites to make sure you've got everything you need to know. I'm back at 2 o'clock with Kevin Coleman. We've got Nutmeg Sports getting you ready for tonight's rematch of the FCX Hockey Championship from last year, Ridgefield and New Canaan. For now, though, let's go back over to Kate.
Thanks so much, Frank. And of course, want to say all our HAN Network news sites already sharing storm information, including some parking bans already in effect, some cancellations, so stay tuned to those, of course. And we thanks again to Jacob Mizell for joining us. We're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break. Have a great day.